This is what 1 million population looks like in City Skylines 2. This city not only features an amazing city park, but also realistic industry and dedicated smaller islands. Let's explore this massive city, starting right here on an island with the airport, then moving over to the main city, which actually has an amazing city park. We'll explore the industry in the outskirts and everything else interesting to see here. I hope you find inspiration. Let's hop right in. This is what we would see looking outside of a window of a plane taking off from this airport where we arrive in the city. Right in front of it is a telecommunications tower. We can already see we are in a tropical place here. There's many palm trees and there's actually multiple of these towers, another one right there, and so many planes in the sky. So this one here is definitely a busy airport, and surprisingly there are immediately houses nearby, row houses to be exact, and I am also immediately spotting the first tram that's right here next to a modern school, or it might be an office building, but there's definitely trams driving here. Just look at this architecture here, pretty great. That street of the tram leads directly to an intersection heading to a bridge to the main city, so everything here is really well connected. But staying here for yet another bit, there is the tram depots here, as well as some recycling facilities, so that trash collection on this island is handled well. Additionally, we can find a train station. There's also a bunch of people waiting here, and then all these train lines here just go underground and then run either to the city under the water or to the outside. I've just discovered a building here, this one, with these red accents. I'm not actually sure what this building is, but it looks really great. Turns out this is the Health Research Institute. It's right here at the end of healthcare. It costs 1 million. I really need to build some of that in my cities. It looks really amazing. Next, we head over this beautiful bridge to the massive metropolis on the other side of the strait. We can see tons of skyscrapers and even the observation tower. And then as we get there, we can see the next interesting thing. This entire island has a ring highway around it, which gives it pretty great traffic flow with frequent exits to get to more of the downtown area. As we exit from that bridge, we see the next amazing buildings. This one is the Central Bank, also a building I really rarely see. And then continuing further, we get really to the downtown, and then we head right on this massive street to go towards the main park. Everything here is just really high density. I guess technically these are all medium density housing, but also we can see traffic is quite low. That's because all these people are already moved in. I think in the game traffic is mostly high when new people are moving in, and now it's quite unrealistically low for having 1 million people on this island. Again, here on the corner of the city park we can see tons of people. Maybe they are going to the observation tower right next to it. But before looking at how the view is from up there, let's take a look at the park. I actually love how this one looks. The buildings are really oriented in an organic fashion. So there's tons of paths around, and then these buildings are loosely placed. These are all gravel paths, so vehicles can technically still drive on them, but there's no major cars apart from like service vehicles. There's a museum with a car park, and then take a look at that. I rarely see that, especially in like park areas. This is often overlooked, but there's public transport here, and it looks like tons of people are using it. I wonder where they are all going or where they're coming from. In the game, citizens don't just spend time in a park, but it's a great site anyway. And then there's some more custom park solutions, as well as a firewatch tower. I guess that fits a park quite well. And then some more of these special parks that are in the game, and so many people out here. Then there's a massive statue. Even some people that are living here. This must be some crazy expensive property. Then a large pedestrian bridge crossing through the entire park. That's an interesting one. Why would you build a bridge here? But it definitely looks interesting. And then we come to the next outrageous thing in the park. There's an entire castle here. So this park is really giant and really special. There's even buses here, presumably bringing tourists to that site, and there's even a custom graveyard. This is hand built, and there are some ghost graves right here. And finally, at the end of the park, there is another building I don't immediately recognize. Again, a really modern and interesting building where you can even look through the building. And this one is the modern city hall. Great location for a mayor. And now, as promised before, let's head back over to the tower and see what the view is from up here. We can see the mountains in the distance, overlook the entire park, and see the island where we landed with our airplane. This map is truly massive. To continue the overview of that city, we can hop back onto the highway and head towards the outskirts, where there's again tons of industry, offices, and post infrastructure. And then we get really industrial. There is the chemical plant next to another airport. We got some oil mining, and what I really love here is this mining pit, which actually has topography that fits how such a pit would look in reality. So really great detail. And funnily enough, there is another recycling center down here. And there's something else interesting here at the top. There are 3 solar farms with tons of batteries placed at this star-shaped pattern. This is something I've seen in reality as well. People building solar farms in some patterns. So it looks great and it's fun to see. Then there's some farming going on, and then a river coming from the mountain is going to the entire bay, where there's again way more airports. And here we can see tons of rail infrastructure and terminals. Seeing that, I'm really interested in seeing how this city actually functions. What is the infrastructure like here? So let's take a quick peek. Electricity wise, the city is relying on these solar panels as well as a nuclear power plant all the way over there in the distance. Water is coming from this one island in the back there. Let's quickly take a look. There's just tons of facilities cleaning water and pumping water up. So this also handles sewage. From a healthcare perspective, most of it is centered along the main island, even though it appears there are some death care problems. But this might be since none of these services are assigned to a district. So if you didn't know, you can assign an operating district to any buildings. So I could say that this crematorium is now only working in the area of this main island. And when the city gets bigger, this really helps to manage services. Education also seems to be quite exclusive to the people living here on the main island, but education is great anyway, since we have this like medical university as well as the technical university built in one of the outer islands. Regarding fire and police, nothing special to see here apart from its surprisingly few police stations. This city mostly used the urban police headquarters station, so it's quite a large one and a quite expensive one at 1.8 million. I guess that justifies why there are so few police stations out here. Public transport is where it gets crazy. Since we have all of these airports, there's also airlines traveling in between the city. And then there are 40 bus lines, 8 train lines, 11 tram, 22 subway, and 10 plane lines. These public transportation routes are just going in straight lines and are mostly confined to the singular islands, whereas these airports connect these outer parts with each other. This is maybe surprising again, parks are quite scarce, so only here in the city center. The rest of the city does not really have parks, but anyway, the people are quite happy because of high wealth and reliable mail service. Looking at wealth, the city is quite profitable. It looks pretty break even, but since there's so large revenues and expenses, even a small percentage in larger revenues leads to a monthly balance of 14 million a month in profits. And that is at a taxation of 7% for everything. That explains why people have this high of wealth. The largest expense for the city is education and research, but that's also subsidized at a budget of 150%, followed closely by healthcare, also subsidized, then transportation and communications. Thinking about that, I don't think I've ever seen a city spending that much on communications, 15 million, but the internet coverage or the telecom coverage on the city is literally perfect. I mean, how can this be any better? Finally, on the pollution view, we can really see that the industry is centered around the outskirts and there's really large pollution out there, even though it's not that dense. I mean, most of the things here is still forest, but that shows why it is so important to have the city on the island here, because even if you placed it down here in the forest, everything would still be crazy polluted. Now let's look at some other interesting things in the city. I already talked here about this technical university. It is located on one of the islands with lower density. There's a lot of space here, a lot of mixed-use houses, great education with an additional high school. Again, not that much traffic, but still a lot of space for things to be built here. And this island will still be growing. Everything here is zoned, so it's not like that this island is supposed to stay empty. Then there's 2 more high schools, tons of post facilities, and at the edge of it, this is the space center. You probably don't want to live on this island, even though they have these beautiful apartment buildings, because every once in a while you will be blasted away from the sound waves of a rocket. On one edge of the main island, I found another type of zoning that I find quite interesting. So there's just a few spread out skyscrapers around some lower density buildings. That's pretty cool. I love the visual. Usually one spams down just too much high density that it looks quite unrealistic. And here, just taking a look again at the urban highway. It runs all around the outside of the city, and then there's even a wall to make sure that sound doesn't disturb the people living and working right next to it. Further out, we always have these nice highway exits leading to kind of a marina, but instead of people living here, it's just industry. Then there's another massive train station with also tons of people waiting here. I'd guess these are all transferring between their jobs, which are here on this island, to where they live on the main island. So great that there is this much public infrastructure. We already looked at how sewage water is cleaned up in the city. And then there's also Pac-Man. Interesting shape to mine some stones. Finally, this is something really amazing I found. So this is a highway, and then you can take a rest stop. Here there's a parking lot and then some fuel stations. This is so realistic. I've not seen a single city in City Skylines 2 that has this feature, but literally most highways in the world do actually have that. I mean, at some point you need to take a rest from driving. Love to see that. Apart from that, we have an island with a fire helicopter depot and some satellite dishes for communication, maybe research. And right next to it, and also dangerously close to the city, is the nuclear power plant. It's basically the only thing on the island connected with the main city. So in summary, pretty cool city. I hope that short tour gave you some inspiration. Do you have a city you want me to tour? Let me know in the comments. Thank you for watching and happy gaming.